Hello. Hello, and welcome back to A Theme Park Manager Plays. We are back in our franchise mode park, and going to bring you guys in here to kind of see where we're at. So, I'm just going to zoom out here and kind of bring you in for where we're starting. This is pretty much where we left off in the first episode. If you didn't catch the first episode, first I would love it if you went back and watched the first episode. But if you're new here, I am a real life theme park manager. That is what I do for my full-time job. And I thought it would be fun in franchise mode to come at this from the standpoint that we are starting a new entertainment company. So we've purchased a plot of land, and we're basically building this from scratch. So that's where we're at. So the way I'm going to be showing this park build is by building it literally from the ground up. So we did we started the earth moving work last time, and now we got a little more foundation stuff going. So this is kind of how I want to show it, is starting from foundation and then building up from there. So you can see over here we've got some footer starting to go in for something else that is coming. What I've decided to do timeline wise is not put this like completely into 2024 where we're starting out, but newer. I don't have like a complete year yet, but this isn't going to be a park that like started in the 60s or the 70s or anything like that and built. I want to come at this as we're building this kind of new. With that in mind, though, what I think is going to be really fun is that this park is still going to be built as a regional theme park chain that embraces the history of theme parks. So that's why I want to keep this entrance in this style, because we're not going over the top with like Universal or Disney or anything like that. We're keeping it very much. We're going to keep it rooted, and that's also why we have this older coaster in here, is because it's going to be harkening back to the times of old. That's what I think I want to do, is kind of like have this park and have this whole company kind of go through the history of theme parks, but being built new. I hope that makes sense. If you like it, let me know. If you don't, if you have another suggestion, please let me know. I'm all for it. But this is where we are now. So we're going to go ahead and jump into time lapse, and then I will catch you up to where we go next. All right, everybody. Here we go with my second time lapse voiceover ever. So let's see if this one's better than the first one. The first thing that I'm doing is I'm revisiting this entrance building. There were a couple things. One was I knew I wanted to get the roof line kind of figured out and put the actual back of the building on. So that's what I'm doing here, is just adjusting the roof line, throwing the sides of the wall, throwing the side walls on, throwing the back wall on, just so that it looks like this is actually a structural a structural thing. Making sure that the colors are correct. Man, I can't wait for this update to come by when colors won't be so much of an issue anymore. And then I wanted to come back and make sure that the archways were actually sitting on the ground. And as I was putting these in, I was noticing that the angles of these concrete pieces were starting to get off. And then when I went to go rotate the entire thing to make a completed archway, I noticed that it wasn't square to the building for some reason. So that must have happened when I did the first piece trying to do the arch method. And I'm guessing that just somewhere along the way, it wasn't completely aligned to the building. And so the angles were off for all of them. And so I'm messing with it here, trying to get it to line up correctly. And it just wasn't working. So ended up deciding to get rid of it and just build a new arch. I also kind of thought that it would be good to make these arches a little bit smaller. And you're going to see here in a second that I actually ended up going with 3 arches instead of 2. I think that it ends up giving a much cozier kind of feeling rather than it being so grand. So that's what we do here. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I may end up actually going back through eventually and turning it into one big arch with like a central set of pillars down the middle instead of these 3. I'm not too sure. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, because the 3 arches look nice, but then there are these walls running down the middle in 2 different places, and I don't really know how I feel about each of these turnstiles being separated off from the other ones. I feel like if it had a more open and airy feel, that would look better and feel better. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But for now, this is what we have. So at least getting it so that way it touches the ground, and then we're just going to go through here and fill in the gaps. Okay, so now we got that all figured out. We're going to take these filler pieces, slide them on over to the other side, so that way it's all one piece of concrete. Let's make some little adjustments here, and then we're going to continue on adding in the backside of the tower, and then and now I'm going to continue on with starting to lay oh, sorry, we're going to do the trim pieces first, because that's good. Can't remember what order I did things here. Anyway, it's fine. Getting the trim pieces in, it's all good. And then I think we're going to throw on the back awning in a second here too. Yeah, here we go. So just wanted to throw on a back awning. I think that gives it a nice and complete look. And now we're going to move on to something completely random. There's going to be a train in the park. Yeah, there is. So for the train, I wanted the train to go all the way around the park, and I wanted it to be elevated at the front, but then be closer to the ground on the bottom or at the back of the park. Just so you guys are aware, with a little bit of my background, my home park is Six Flags Great America up in Chicago. Same home park as Mass Bandit, if you follow him. So we got that. And what's neat about that park is that the back of the park, the whole park is on a very gentle grade. So the back of the park is actually up higher in elevation than the front half of the park is. And so the train there, it starts like the station at the front of the park is elevated off the ground on this big berm, and there's train trestles for the midway to go under. But then when you get to the back of the park, the train is on the ground because the grade of the park has met up with the grade of the train. So it's kind of cool that you start out elevated and the train essentially stays flat the entire time. There's not much elevation change going on. And so I wanted to mirror that, but I didn't want to have the entire park be graded up, so decided to do it with the train instead. So there's a very gentle grade. I think it's like, I don't know, like 1.5, 1.2 degrees, something like that. Just to make it so that way when you get to the back of the park, it's more flat to the ground. Right now I have 3 total stations. We'll see if that stays. But the other thing with this was that I wanted to give myself another boundary to set. So while I don't plan on having the park stay completely contained within the confines of the train tracks, it's going to give a pretty good idea of where the restraints are. And now I'm jumping back over to the entrance, and we're going to start working on some of these building facades. I was watching the series that Jury, I think his name is Jury. I forget I don't know how to pronounce his name. I apologize. And he's doing a really cool Western Main Street where he's completely custom building all of these facades. They're incredible. And one thing that he said was that for the brick pieces is that taking the non-gridded piece and shrinking them all the way down to 50% gives the bricks a little bit more natural and more realistic size to them. And when I did the comparison myself, it's absolutely true. So Jure, someone, if you know how to pronounce his name, I'm so sorry. Please let me know. But that was a really great tip, and it helped me get this scale that I wanted to get. I wanted these facades towards the front of the park. We're not going to do a total Main Street vibe to them, but I do want to have it be more of a small town USA kind of shop stuff going on there. Here's a good example of how my brain works when I'm building stuff. It is difficult for me to stay on one thing at one time. I also like to build in layers. And so because I like to do that, I tend to jump around from project to project within the entire park. So I wasn't getting what I wanted out of those building facades for right now. So I said, let's move on to something else that needs to get done. And that is we need to build the foundation for this train station and get the train trestle in. So that's what we're doing here, building it out of cinder block for right now. Again, one of the things that I want to do with this series is kind of show this park being built from the ground up. And a lot of times with these structures is they will have a cinder block or something type of foundation, and they'll be covered. I don't know why there was a big cut there. Apologize for that. All I did there was I switched, or I changed the orientation of the trestle so that way it was perpendicular with the train station. So sorry for that cut. That was not great. But anyway, I'm moving on to the other trestle, and this is going to be the entrance into one of our major themed areas. I really like the aesthetic of northern Canada. And so I want to do an area of the park over here that has to do with that. So I don't know if you've seen it in the background at all, but there's a rapids ride over here for some of that stuff. So like I want to make this like, northern Canada, Alaska, that kind of a theme going on here. So that's what this area is going to end up being eventually. We're just kind of cleaning up the berm here and doing some more earthwork to try and make sure that this all makes sense as we're going. And the new chisel tool, I really enjoy it. It essentially acts this, at least from what I found, it essentially acts the same way as the push terrain tool, but it tends to do it in a more gentle way and tends to keep the orientation of the push in line. So it's a really nice way to very cautiously dig out terrain. And then we're going to get the start of this train trestle going. Just wanted to put in where I wanted the walls to be. And this one's going to look like it's supported just with wooden pylons. It may actually end up being that way. This might just be aesthetic. I'm not sure yet, but at least for right now, I'm just putting in a couple of these pylons to make it look like it's being supported. And because if the train is already in, then it anywhere it's off the ground, it needs to be supported. So that's what this is going on here. Keeping it very simple for right now, just throwing in a couple supports on each side, so that way it at least can hold itself up. And we're gonna copy these around here, and we're gonna call the day on the bridge. Okay, so I kept looking at this rapid ride, and I like the location of it, but I wasn't thrilled about the layout of it. There is a really great one of my favorite rapids is at Dorney Park. I believe it's called Thunder Canyon. It's really great because the ride kind of passes next to itself several different times throughout the layout, and there are these waterfalls, there are these cascades going from level to level. And I really enjoyed that. It's one of the I've gotten probably the most soaked on a rapids ride on that one. And so I really wanted to get that in at some point during this ride. So I know I'm going over it a little bit quickly, but the two turns that are closer to the train tracks over there, that's where we're going to do a cascading waterfall kind of thing over there. And then I just wanted to get this turnaround in here and just change up the layout a little bit, so that way it kind of was a little more, it made a little more sense. So so I'm happy with this layout now. I'm not happy with Planet Coaster's Rapids rides in general. I hate the way that it's animated. I wish there was a way to add more effects and things to it, rather than just having the option of narrow and wide and their quote unquote rapids. It really just makes the boat kind of bounce around a little bit. It's not great. I really hope that we get an upgrade to these rapids at some point. But anyway, coming back in again with the terrain and just kind of getting this all connected up to the ground, at least in most places here. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. We're making sure that everything, again, built from the ground up. That is what I'm going for here. So anytime I'm putting this up in the air, normally in a sandbox mode, you can just build whatever you want and you can come back and connect it later. But I'm trying really hard as I'm going through to make sure that everything is starting from the ground and we're working our way up from there. So the rapids now have a foundation. And I also wanted to get ahead of queues and things. So here I knew that both paths were going to have to cross the railroad track at some point. So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting the height that I need. It's taken me a bit to get used to the way that elevation works with the paths, and I'm pretty used to it now. So it's kind of hard to see, especially depending on the time of day that you have your light set to. But if you have it set to a time of day, or you have your path in an orientation where you can see the different tick marks when you're elevating your path, I've finally figured out that there is a correlation between how many ticks down you go and what the distance is. So I don't know this for sure, but from what I've found doing this particular path work was that for every time you go up one of the major tick marks and you extend it out to a major tick mark, that will give you a ramp. And then if you either cut that back in half, or if you go down 2 tick marks in the same stretch, that's going to give you stairs. So that's kind of the general parameters that I've found to know when I'm going to get ramp or stair. And that's been able to help me get the type of elevation change that I want. There are some places where I want to do path, some places that I want to do ramp, some places I want to do stairs, and I think we got a pretty good thing going here. So we get that staircase nice and even, and now we got some path work in. All right, so here's where we left off. We got the queue in and the exit ramp in. I'm going to change these textures. Don't worry about that for right now. It's just kind of whatever the default was when I was putting them in. But as I spin around here, there's going to be some stuff, and that's because I thought that I had hit record on OBS and I accidentally hit start virtual camera. So my bad. So none of this footage exists. I do apologize. But I wanted to bring you in and show you where we are, so that way we can all get excited for where this is going next. So like I said, this is going to be the area that's going to be more like a northern Canada, Alaska type of feel going in here. And I put a couple of flat rides in to start getting that going. Started to get the foundation for some more. So these are going to be just some shops over here. I think I want to do a big planter or some kind of nature feature in here. And then this big building, this is going to be one of our main theaters. Entertainment in general, something that's very near and dear to me. So I do want to build a theater. I am planning on doing an interior for this, but we'll see if that actually happens. And that's kind of where we're at. So this is where we're shaping up. You can see the entrance is taking shape with its foundations. We got this area taking shape with its foundations, and then we got the whole rest of the park to do. I'm a little in the franchise mode thing. We may have to start getting guests in the park fairly soon because I've run through about half the money so far. But if it gets to that point, we'll make it work. So, thank you so much for watching this episode of A Theme Park Manager Plays. Again, I would love to hear your suggestions for where to take this next and what we can do and things. So please make sure to leave those in the comments. If you're enjoying this, please make sure to give it a like, and I would really appreciate a subscription. We beat, this is going to sound wild, but I got over 100 subscribers in the last couple of days, so thank you very much for that. I know it's not much, but it is a lot for me. This is great to actually have triple digits. So the next big goal is going to be getting to 1,000. So I would love to have you guys help me hit 1,000 subscribers. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode of A Theme Park Manager Plays.